Jamie Pruden. Did I pronounce that right?
You absolutely did.
Love it. Well, let's tell everybody who you are. You're a hypnotist with a lifetime career.
I want you to make sure that you have your feet flat on the floor.
They say you can't be hypnotized to do anything that you really wouldn't want to do, but that's gray. That's a very gray area, because the truth is nobody knows what they really will or will not do.
You guys having fun out there?
I think it's better for audience to go, oh, that could have happened to you, as compared to, oh, that did happen to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all you see is the guy going, the woman going, oh, no, no. And then just let go, and as they're both going, wide awake.
Huh.
You know, and that's where the audience is going, oh no, oh no. Okay, cool. Because they would feel bad if that actually went down to the point where
The line was crossed.
This brings up a thing I saw. Because I've had people that are like, like, oh, don't worry about getting hypnotized. You won't do anything that you're really uncomfortable with. If you're really uncomfortable with it, you won't do it. And that is true.
Stare at my hand, take a deep breath in, let that breath out, sleep.
Me, I've always flown by the seat of my pants when it comes to performing. I've always been one for improvisation.
And so here we go. Jamie Pruden. Did I pronounce that right?
You absolutely did.
Love it. Well, let's tell everybody who you are. You're a hypnotist with a lifetime career, originating with a passion for acting during high school years. After graduation, you pursued the improv scene through theater sports to refine your spontaneous performance skills. This early experience laid the groundwork for your entry, into stand-up comedy throughout the 80s and 90s. Touring across Canada with the comedy club Yuk Yuk's, establishing a national reputation. After a hiatus from the entertainment industry, Jamie returned with renewed zeal under the stage name Sebastian Steel. You quickly gained acclaim with your comedy and hypnosis show, and is recognized as one of Canada's leading hypnosis comedy acts. In addition to your performance career, you've garnered accolades as a Canadian artist, and your pop art is internationally renowned and sold around the world. Does that kind of encapsulate a little bit?
Yeah.
About who you are?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Well, before we continue on, this is the fun part. I get to give you a gift.
Ooh.
And this is something I started showing in the recording, and we kind of went through this earlier. But it is my pleasure to give you something as
cool.
a gesture of appreciation for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you.
It's got the mug in there and stuff for the grandkids and kids with balloons and suckers and you name it. It's all
candies.
in there.
I might get to those before the grandkids do.
Yeah. Oh, I know. We all do, don't we? Take half for us. the other half
I'm
goes
the
to
worst
everyone else.
diabetic ever.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just feeding you all the good stuff then.
Well, thank you very much for that.
It's my pleasure. Absolute my pleasure. And then I'd like to give a few shout outs there. First and foremost to Lido Theater.
Yeah.
Brian and Cindy Kirshner at the Lido, they've done a lot for the community. And because of them, I've had actually quite a few different guests on, comedy, now, hypnosis, a whole range of people. And one of their, slogans is they're a beacon of entertainment in the area. And, I think that couldn't be more true. They've got community impact. They've got the historic charm with the building.
Yeah.
They've got intimate venue with the atmosphere. I mean, wide range of different entertainment.
Well, and Brian, in the years of doing entertainment, Brian is one of those people, when you work with him, this guy knows how to work with entertainers. He treats us amazingly. He caters. He just bends over backwards to take care of the people that are performing in his venue. He's very good with his performers.
Well, he's little known fact too. My daughter works there.
Oh, okay.
She's a waitress. You referenced her last night. Actually.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oh,
you know
where
that bit
where the girl was infatuated with Brian.
Yeah,
that's his wife. I'm just kidding. It's a waitress.
Yeah, we should explain to the viewer. I guess part of your act, you had a volunteer up on stage, and you had her somehow, I guess, infatuated with Brian.
Oh yeah.
And he was leaving the stage, and oh, there goes Brian. And she said, she got all disappointed. And you're like, well, that's his wife. And then she just got I mean, it was like you were just crushing her. Yeah. He's like, just kidding. That's just a waitress. It's not really his wife, eh?
Yeah.
He's checking the bathroom. I think he was just in the women's bathroom.
I'm ashamed, bro. Where'd he go?
He disappeared. Oh, no, that's not him. That's his wife. No, it's not. It's the waitress.
Talk about having fun, though, eh? With the crowd. And
well, that's where a lot of the improv training comes in, you know. I've seen a lot of shows where they're just very tight scripted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they stick to that script, and nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, if they've got a tight thing that works for them, kind of thing, right? I've always flown by the seat of my pants when it comes to performing. I've always been one for improvisation. It just seems to work really well. Even when I was doing theater. Whenever we were doing rehearsals, I was the last person to know my lines for
Oh,
play.
really?
So I would get up there. I knew the gist of the story. I knew the gist of the scenes, and I would
just wing it.
I would just improvise, and it got to the point where it was kind of pissing off the other actors because they would actually start identifying more with my improvised lines than the actual scripted lines.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd mess them up because then I'd learn my lines, and then I'd come in for rehearsal and they'd say their line and I'd actually say the actual line, and they're like,
And how do I react?
oh, it's the actual line. Oh. So I'd throw them off a bit, but I love it.
Well, with being a hypnotist, especially now that you've had that history of maybe building your craft and skill set, that's probably an asset now because you're dealing with all kinds of different people, you know, personalities and mindsets, and you know, interaction with the crowd. That's kind of almost, you have to be organic in the moment to kind of make it flow.
When I first got into doing the hypnosis shows, like I first learned hypnosis back in high school. But I've never seen a stage hypnosis show. I knew how to do it. I knew how it worked, the fundamentals, but I'd never seen a stage show. And when I took my little hiatus from show business after stand-up, it was a complete fluke about the hypnosis stuff. I was in a really dark place, and I'd been fighting addiction, and it got to the point where addiction got me in that area where I wasn't showing up for gigs. It was all a party. I had attitude. I had ego, all these type of things. And I just burned a lot of bridges, and especially with Yuk Yuks and whatnot. And so I stepped away from it, tried to get myself clean and all this type of stuff. And it was just a moment. I was running a hotel bar in St. Albert, and I had this whole building to myself. The hotel was closed to the public, but the owners gave me a room to live in, kind of thing, and I was watching their bar.
Yeah.
And it was just a low part in my life where it was like, okay, I kind of messed up my life. My whole passion of acting and entertaining, I pissed it all away with the addiction.
Like that was your moment of realization kind of thing?
Yeah.
That time?
Yeah. And I actually went up to my room that night with the intention of taking my life.
Wow.
And I had a bottle of tequila, and I was drinking that to get the courage to do it. I had the belt around the shower and everything ready to go. And it was a very dark time. And all I remember is I was standing on the edge of the tub with this belt around my neck. And in my head, I'm just saying, just do it, one step. That's all it's going to take, just one step. Just do it. You can do it. You can do it. It's kind of like that kid standing on the edge of that high diving board platform, and you see everybody doing it, and you look like fun. But once you walk out there, it's like, this is scary. This is scary. And you try psyching yourself up. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And I had this voice pop in my head, and it just said, this isn't you. You don't even know who you are anymore. You need to go out, find yourself again, and then decide if you hate yourself this much. So I stepped down, went to bed, and the next day, working in the bar, hungover, really bummed out, depressed, and it was just like the universe just went, ah, and opened up. This guy walked into the bar, and I actually had people in the bar, and because the bar was always dead. And this guy walked up to me, and he said, I'm learning to be a stage hypnotist, and I was wondering if I could practice my show on your customers here tonight. Don't have to pay me or nothing. I just want to work the bugs out in my show.
Yeah.
So can I practice on your crowd here? I'll do a show here tonight. Sure. So he came in with his wife, and they set up, and they did this show. Now, this guy, he told me he has no theater training or anything. He was like a blue-collar worker. I think he was a sheet metal worker.
Oh, really?
This was just a hobby. It was a hobby he wanted to do, kind of thing, right? You understand.
Yeah, yeah. Right? Well, exactly, yeah.
So the whole time, and I'm fighting this miserable hangover, and I'm watching him, and I know how hypnosis works, but I'd never seen it done as a show. So as I'm watching him, I found myself critiquing him. Like, you know, you're holding your mic in the wrong hand. You're blocking yourself when you stand like this. You're not enunciating this right. You're not doing... And as I'm critiquing him, the light bulb went off in my head.
Oof, this is what I should be doing.
You know how to do this. You can do this. You can do this. Huh. And I always worried about, because of the bridges I burned, how when I get back into these rooms I used to perform at, as soon as they heard my name, they'd be like, no, kind of thing, right? So stage name, Sebastian Steel, came about. And
a name means that much, eh? Just on the first impression?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And it got me into a lot of rooms, but the first and foremost room that booked me on was Yuk Yuk's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that must have been a little bit of a weird, awkward...
They blacklisted me.
Oh.
From back in the day. I was blacklisted by the end of it. And so I knew if comedy wasn't the way I was going to get back into, and that's what I did, was comedy. Well, I can't do that anymore. But so I came in as this hypnosis show, and my partner at the time, the friend of mine that stepped in to do the show with me, he approached Yuk Yuk's, and all they heard was this Sebastian Steel kind of thing. And I think I'd changed a lot in looks and stuff like that too. Personality, I was a completely different person at this point. And so the very first gig that I did, they came out to watch the show, and Yuk Yuk's had a Wednesday night where they had other hypnotists. They were rotating hypnotists on Wednesday nights.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing, right? And so they wanted to see if I was a hypnotist that would fit in with the
routine,
with their rotations. So they came out, and I saw Yuk Yuk's table, and I remember like a quarter of the way in the show, like maybe half an hour into the show, they all got up and they left. And I thought,
son of
either
a...
they didn't like the show,
yeah,
or they realized it was me.
Oh,
kind of thing. And I went,
there was
nope.
a little bit of a lingering
But the next day,
reputation.
Yuk Yuk's called and asked us to come down to Yuk Yuk's and see the hypnotist they have on stage. So we sat there in the audience watching this hypnosis show. The guy was having a tough night. He was having a tough night with it, getting people under and stuff like that. He had definite entertainment value, but he was just having an off night. And so the manager sat down with us at her table, and she's not making any reference to remembering me or like that, but she just looked at us and said, "Can you do better than this?" And yeah, I can. And so she said, "Okay, come in next Wednesday. I'm going to give you next Wednesday to see what you can do." And we came in, and we ended up being the house act every Wednesday night.
Whoa,
for
really?
3.5 years.
Whoa, you landed it.
We landed it. We ended up Wednesday nights, we were pulling in a bigger crowd than their Saturday night with headliner comedy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We would have 3 rows of chairs up on the stage, and there were nights where they were actually coming up on stage and grabbing chairs off the stage to seat people.
Wow.
We ran out of room kind of thing. So it worked out good. But back to what I kind of squirreled off there.
No, that was pretty good.
The style of show that I'm doing, when we get back to the improv thing, where you were saying like that's over the years, that's must have been something that worked out good. And it was something I had right from the get-go. When I started doing the hypnosis shows, it would have been 1998. And there were more hypnotists in Edmonton, Alberta, than there was in all of Canada.
Really?
Yeah, there was
What
like
is going on there?
40 some odd hypnotists just in Edmonton, so it was very saturated. And every bar, everything in Edmonton you went to, there was a hypnotist. So I went and I checked out everybody's show. I just kind of wanted to get a feel of it now that I know the formula of how these shows work. I didn't want to go out there with the same schlock that everybody's seeing. And that's what I noticed was all these shows were all similar. You can literally tell that some people were copying other people's shows, right down to the music, literally the dialogue they were saying on stage, the scripted dialogue. They were literally copying other performers' acts. But a lot of what the formula to their shows were, there was a guy on TV back in the latter part of the 90s that wore a mask and went on TV and told you how magic tricks were done.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you recall that or not.
Not really, no.
So it put a lot of magicians out of work.
Oh.
Because he exposed how all these tricks were done. And so
The cardinal rule not to break.
So a lot of these magicians switched over and became hypnotists. Now, magicians have a certain style of humor. Okay, I call it segue humor. In means that, like, for example, if they're doing tabletop magic, they'll tell you a funny anecdote that kind of leads into the trick that they're going to do for you.
Exactly.
Okay, and a lot of it, I don't know, maybe it's like way magic works, if we can get your attention over here while I'm setting up over here, whatnot. So they have these little funny anecdotes. And I found that when they were doing their hypnosis show, it was the same type of humor. They just brought that over to hypnosis. So before they set up on the count of 3, you're going to do this, they would talk to the audience and have this funny little anecdote that would
get a reaction while they're kind of
lead you into this kind of thing. And I found with a lot of these acts that I was going to see, they were very scripted, very, very scripted. And the whole illusion, just like magic, they were putting on these hypnosis shows that were very, it was almost like a stereotyping when you look at their posters. It was, the guy with the goatee and the tuxedo.
Yeah.
Doing these poses,
the very big
kind of thing, or
extreme kind of imagery,
right? And So I figured, okay, I've always been step out of the box kind of person. I appreciate performers that aren't afraid to do something that maybe people won't like. You don't know, but it's different.
Yeah.
To do something different. Like before Kevin Stoiko, figure skating was just people in unitards skating to
Yeah,
classical music.
Absolutely. You have the outliers, I guess, so to speak, in each.
Nobody in
sport.
our age group or in high school and that had any interest in watching figure skating.
No.
You know, if the Olympics were on
true.
and figure skating came on, I'm switching the channel to
Yeah.
something else until figure skating's done. But then all of a sudden, here's this guy on ice with ripped jeans and a leather jacket doing backflips to rock and roll music.
Yeah.
Figure skating.
Gave it a whole different look.
And just like that, figure skating was cool.
That's true.
And a lot of younger generation were like, I would be interested in learning how to figure skate, you know? And the audience grew. I remember I was working in a bar when the World Figure Skating Championships were in Edmonton. And Stoiko and Kurt Browning and all these people were going to be in the city participating in this World Figure Skating Championship. And the Liquor Control Board actually extended the last call hour in bars an extra hour because of the figure skating championship.
Really?
Yeah. That's how cool it got. It hit the drinking crowd. Like the viewing, it just increased. But it all because somebody said, you know what?
It broke the mold a bit.
I want to be different.
Well, the comedy part of it is a little bit of a unique, I guess, application because it's a skill all on its own. And most comedians usually refine it. They'll go out and, you know, just talking to different comedians and hearing stories about how they perfect the act. You know, they got to go and rehearse it over and over and figure out the delivery and the tone and, you know, everything that's around it.
When I was doing stand-up, we had the six show rule. We would go out and do open stage nights, even though if we were signed on and doing tours, we'd still go do these open stage nights because that was a place to practice your new material. And we've always had to, when I was in it, it was a 6 show rule. So if you had new material, you try it out in front of one audience. And if it didn't work, that you don't toss the joke. You try it in front of 6 different audiences because what's funny for one audience isn't always funny for another audience. It's always different that way.
Yeah, and being able to read the audience, I think, too.
Yeah.
And being able to, there's a sense of control, I guess, in that, in your ability to recognize signature responses, you know, on your joke and how to ride that and then kind of use that momentum to deliver the next part. But now with hypnosis, your attention has to be split, not only with the crowd, but I'm sure there's a lot of attention and awareness that goes into making sure that you have however many people on stage following everything and I'm sure that demands a lot of attention, awareness, skill set that to try and make sure that these people kind of follow that pattern. Like watching you yesterday, that was one of the things that I kind of was picking up on, is that the process of you putting a lot of different people under hypnosis was there was a steady level of progression. And if you didn't maintain a certain level of progression and control and leading them, just being one step in front of them mentally, to be able to, recognize that at a certain stage, and then you set it up for the next step and then the next step. And if you're not just in front leading them a little bit, you start to lose them. If you're behind them a little bit, then, you know, it breaks that concentration. You just got to lead them down into a place of now where you've gotten to that point, that goal. So to do that and then kind of have that control in a way where it's entertaining for the audience and that comedy aspect. I mean, there's a lot going on all at the same time, and you've got to split that attention and have that awareness. That is a bit of a unique skill set, isn't it?
Well, one of the things that really an experience I've had, and every hypnotist has this experience, and it really defines who you are as an entertainer, You get those one nights. Like I've had nights where I go into a venue and there's 200 people. It's sold out. And I end up with 2 people on stage or 1 person on stage. You know, it's like pulling teeth to get volunteers to come up on stage. Finally get like 15 people volunteer, do the induction, and 1 person goes under, you know? So now I got to do a 2-hour show.
With 1 person.
1 person.
Jeez.
Right? Now, that's where... because a lot of hypnosis shows, when you've got a stage, like last night, you have a stage full of people, and they're great performers for the most part, you know. You get the odd ones that just aren't opening it out there, kind of thing, and they're just kind of pressing in, they're a little nervous, whatnot. But you got a majority of people on stage, they're just doing a great job. They're just right in it and going. And when you have a big stage like that, to a certain degree, the show just rides itself. You know, it's like a toboggan going down a hill. It's got its path and it's going.
Well, you can pick out different personalities.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you get to those nights where it's a 1-person show, you know, when you're talking about versatility and how you're working it, kind of thing, in a big show, you can really get to, okay, now you're going to do this right now. And then, you know, hey, I got one for
I see.
you.
Yeah, just kind of play
and play.
Pick out different people.
You. And
so who's having more fun? Is it you?
Yeah. When the improv kicks in, like the whole thing with the girl having a crush on Brian, that was just something that just popped into your head because Brian kept coming to the side of the stage and he was like, Jamie, you need to take those chairs off the stage, those empty chairs. Why don't we get those off the stage? Do you guys need anything? I mean, he kept, you know, like
helping out.
Right. And I thought, well, if he's going to be here, he's going to be a part of the show.
Well, and he's good for that too. It's a safe bet to try and bring him in on that.
And that's what I mean. So if the audience is going to see some doing thing, well, just incorporate him in, make him part of the show, have some fun with it, you know? And, but when it's a 1-person show, when you're sitting there going, okay, on the count of 3, you're going to do this. Now, on the count of 3, you're going to do this. Okay, now on the count of 3, you're going to do this. After a while, it becomes a constant. On the count of 3, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
On the count of 3, you're going to do this. On the count of 3, you're going to do this.
The monotonous of it all, just for you more than anything.
So you need to break it up. You need to stop for a moment and stop relying on the volunteers to be the show.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that you're an entertainer. So at some parts, you have to stop and turn around and play your audience. Talk to your audience. Tell some jokes. You know, do a bit of stand-up, whatever it takes. But you've got to make sure that with a 1-person show, that audience is going to leave thinking, I got my money's worth. That was an entertaining show. And a lot of times, too, if you do it right, they have a lot of respect for you, the audience. They know you're suffering up there. They know you're struggling. They know, shit, he's only got 1 person under.
I wonder how this is going to play out,
He's sweating up there.
Yeah.
But when they leave after 2 hours going, I had some laughs tonight. I had a good time. He did that with 1 person.
Yeah.
And it works because you have to remember you're an entertainer, you know?
It's a sense of accomplishment though, in a lot of ways, because if you're able to enjoy yourself and be a little bit more nimble and increase that skill set enough to where you can actually be not so awkward to watch, you're able to kind of go with the flow and interact, then that's the only time you can kind of push the boundaries of skill set that a lot of people would probably start to freeze in. And then that 1-person show is probably pretty scary, but I mean, it's manageable. And if it happens 4 or 5 more times, that's probably a roadblock in a career that a lot of people would get hung up on.
Absolutely.
But now you're like, okay, sense of accomplishment. It's almost like now once you get to that and you've got that nimbleness and
You know how
that
to do
skill, you're like, oh man, bring it on. Let's
Confidence.
get challenging
Yeah.
and let's have 1 or 2 people come up and then let's see if I can knock this one out of the park.
You
eh?
know, the funny thing is back when I was doing stand-up, and stand-up was such a great learning tool for doing things. I've had friends that would ask me back in the day, how can you get up in front of a room full of hundreds of people? I'd be just stage fright, you know? And I would tell them, I said, you know, when you get up in front of 300 people, that's a piece of cake. Because first off, it's just a sea of people. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a mass, you know? So it's fine. You know that you're going to get a portion that go, and you'll hear that,
the feedback for sure.
Right? And when other people hear other people, they too, right? But when you have an audience of 20 people,
Ooh,
then you
that's
see
a tough. Oh, the cross arm, yeah.
this and the
Break this
eyes
code
looking
here,
right
buddy.
at you. They're looking at you. You see the individual faces, like,
That's intimidating.
Make me laugh.
For sure.
Make me laugh, you know, and
Yeah.
it's intimidating. It's
It is.
very intimidating. And that's also the same thing with doing a one-person show. You know that, this person may be reluctant to perform because when you're hypnotized, you're aware of everything that's going on. And on a stage full of people, people are more easy to go do things because everybody's on stage doing it. So
Yeah.
I'm blending in with a bunch
Absolutely.
of other people. So I'm fitting in.
That's a unique, I didn't even actually really think about that.
One person spotlights on you.
Absolutely.
And so you're not blending in.
Comfort in numbers.
Right, right. So that's the whole... I think what we used to do in doing stand-up to challenge ourselves, like, for example, if we'd go to an open stage night and we all know each other, all the comedians, we would have nights where we would tell each other, okay, everybody try to bomb.
Oh, really?
On purpose. On purpose.
How do you do that?
Try to
You just
bomb.
kind of stand there and be awkward
Go up
about
there
it?
and try and suck. Do everything you can to try and suck.
Oh, man.
Do your deliveries bad, all this type of stuff. And it was see who can suck the best kind of thing, right? And it turns out to be a hilarious night.
Yeah.
But I try
Talk
and-
about switching it up.
when I'm like I used to have sound people work with me on my show. I used to have a sound person that would tour with me and do my sound on the show. And they'd be a part of the show. And it freed me up more time because I'm not running back to my laptop and
Yeah,
putting in a song. That I can
absolutely.
actually just work my audience kind of thing, right? And anytime I would have a new sound person, they'd be nervous, like, oh, what if I screw up? What if I put the wrong song on? What if I don't? And I would tell them, I said, relax. It's a comedy show. If you screw up, who cares? You know?
Yeah.
If you screw up and you go, the audience is going to go,
Exactly. They're
You
following
know?
your lead. They're feeling your anxiousness.
if you screw up and go, I screwed up, audience is going to go,
Breaks the tension for sure.
I always tell them it's a comedy show. I don't care if they're laughing with me or laughing at me, as long as they're laughing.
That's another element though now, because I actually noticed you doing that where
Yeah.
now you're interacting with the crowd. You've got the volunteers that are being hypnotized. And then the only other thing I guess that is third party would be the lights and the stage present that you have. I'm sure that has an effect too, eh? Like every stage
yeah.
is different, every skill set
But
behind
you
it.
improv with it, and you like if the lights don't come on when they're supposed to come on, you stub your toe. And go, wow, it looks like I can't see anything in here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And have fun with it. And as long as the person on the other end isn't going like, oh, they get it and they can ham up with it too. Like I said, it's a comedy show. The one woman in the audience that I had the Cinnamon go down there and sexy dance to her. The funny thing, like she's a girl, she's my friend's wife. But I didn't know this 10 years ago when she was in the audience with my friend. And I did a suggestion where I told the girl on stage she's Barbie. and her boyfriend is Ken, and he's always hitting on other women. So whenever you hear Barbie girl, you're gonna go in the audience and you're gonna call around, Ken, where the hell are you?
Yeah.
And then when I point Ken out, you realize he's behaving himself. You're gonna go give him a big hug.
Oh yeah.
So I made my friend Ken, and this girl goes out in the audience to hug him, and when she hugs him, that girl
Just loses it
and stormed out of the bar.
Uh-oh.
Stormed out of the Lido, pissed right off, and he chased after her, and that was the last I saw of them. And so he was at my show back in April at the Lido, and I was telling him, like, who was that crazy bitch that freaked out when Barbie hugged you? I mean, it's just a show. Doesn't she realize it's just a show? And he's like, yeah, I married her. That's my wife. Oh. She feels really bad, he said. She feels really bad. So she's going to come and see the show tonight. So I thought, here you go.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah.
No. Wow. What a behind the scenes.
And I made a girl on stage be Barbie. And I'd send her out in the room to find Ken. And when I point Ken out, she'd go hug him. And I did that. And I had a friend sitting in the audience. And I had her go hug him. And the lady he was with lost her fucking mind. Pissed right the fuck off. And she left. But she's here tonight. And she's sitting right there. And Cinnamon, look at her. Because for the remainder of the night, anytime you hear your song, that's where you want a sexy dance. Oh man, lap dance, grind it, everything. And you like getting spanked too. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
The fact that she stormed out because I made some girl hug him.
Yeah.
I made some guy work her
Oh,
all night.
man.
All night. And then
seen
at
that.
the end, I made the whole stage come down and get her.
Oh.
And so after the show, when everybody left, my friend and his wife, this woman, they came up to the green room upstairs, and we were catching up and whatnot. And she was telling me, she goes, I feel so bad about that night that I stormed out. I had a lot to drink. I was really drunk. I was hammered and didn't get what was going on. And, you know,
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm so sorry I ruined your show. And I was like, you did not ruin my show. That was an ongoing joke the rest of the show.
Well, we're talking about it now, eh? Like yeah, you're taking something that is unique and turning it into a
That shit
unique
was
positive for sure, instead
was
of
funny.
a hang up.
Yeah.
The other part, though, I guess, of this all that we haven't really touched on is the trust factor when it comes to the audience and especially the participants.
Yeah.
Like when you only get the one person up there, especially in a crowd that might be a little bit bigger, that's got to be something in a very short period of time you got to address. And I know for myself and just about everybody that I know is there is a trust factor. Like
Absolutely.
my daughter, we talked about her working at the Lido. And I show up. I'm setting up the cameras. She's like, are you going to go up there? I'm like, hell no, there's not a chance. I said, well, what about you? And she's like, no, not a chance. And there's that, you know, hesitation, that vulnerability, the trust factor, you know, even if you want to a little bit, 90% is saying hell no, but there is a percentage of really, man, that'd be kind of cool. I wonder what that's like. I wonder how
you got your thrill seekers out there. Absolutely. There's the ones that are like, hypnosis, do something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm in. I want to do
Well,
this.
2011, you have on your Facebook page, and I should almost bring it up here. I will. I'll tell the story first.
Okay.
But 2011, you were in Fort St. John, and there was a bunch of video of that show.
Yeah.
I was there.
Okay.
And one of the guys that was up on your stage, shout out to Nick Sawchuk if he's watching this. Actually, he will be, because I'm going to tag him in this one. He was up there, and my wife was up there at the very beginning.
Okay.
But she ended up being one of those people that didn't take. And there's a little bit of a, there's that guard there where you're like, man, I don't know. You really have to kind of give up that. And I found it interesting that Nick, because we worked together, and I thought for sure he would be the one that would be a lot more guarded.
Yeah.
And my wife would have been the one that, would have gone with it a little bit. And the opposite happened. And that show went off. And let me tell you, he was up there and he got lost. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But there's that
the guy
mental
at the beginning
block.
of the induction that fell out of his chair onto the floor?
I'll bring it up and I'll show you.
Okay.
He was actually, so this, at the end of this particular show, you gave him a gift. I think usually you set it up, but at the very end you said, oh, okay, once you come out of hypnosis for the first 30 minutes, anytime somebody gives you a high five, it's going to feel like a wet tongue is licking your ass.
Yeah.
So everybody was giving him high fives, and this poor guy, man, we ended up going to the bar later on that night, and it lasted right into the bar, for about 10 minutes. Everyone's giving a high five and he's jumping and looking around. And I'll show you who this guy is.
Okay.
It was absolutely hilarious. It's over to the screen here.
Suddenly they look your way.
There you go. That's him there.
Oh,
Off to
right.
the very far right.
Okay. Yeah.
It looks like this, I don't know how you got this, I'm just going to turn that part down. I don't know how you got this video, but it looks like someone was recording it with a cell
I
phone.
had a friend that came that night and was recording.
They're shy and they give you a cute little finger when they wave. See you wave back.
There he is there.
Playfully, they blow you a kiss. Oh,
This guy that's laying on the floor, I actually commented on it on one part of the video when they got their hands stuck and getting their hands apart.
Yeah.
And I walked up to him and he's just staring at his hands, and I looked at him. I was like, I can tell by the look on your face that right up until this point right here, you thought this all was bullshit.
Oh, he was going with it until
and he was like, yeah. And I said, so you're pretty freaked out right now. I was like, you're fucked now.
I've gotcha. So
Tapped
how
his
does that
hand.
go? Here, first, I got so many questions when it comes to that whole part here. But first, I want to touch on these videos here, because there was another one I wanted to hit. Where are we at here? This one here. This is same show, 2011.
Yeah.
And this is a part where it's the improv. I mean, look at the crowd. You're completely interacting with somebody off the cuff. Look at the reaction you're getting out of it.
If you find another cheek and you rub it for 5 minutes on back, you clear it up. Find another. His cheek.
Ooh, I don't know what how. Man, that was a cliffhanger right there, wasn't it?
On the count of 3, you become wide awake. 1, 2, 3, wide awake.
Anyways, when I was looking at some of the video that you had for preparing for this show, I remembered that whole experience, because that was my second time watching a hypnotic or hypnotist show, and I thought it was off the charts amazing. But that was also the very first time I actually went, oh, this is legitimate, because knowing Nick up there and
He
having
wouldn't have
worked
done a
with
lot of
him,
stuff.
I guarantee you there's no way what
Out
you
of his
had him
character.
doing, it's so wildly out of his character that I was like, whoa, this is not somebody just kind of going along with wanting to be part of the show and fun or whatever. He was actually under your control.
Yeah. Well, not under my control so much. I mean, everybody's aware of everything they're doing on stage. They hear me talking, they hear the audience laughing. You're aware. It's just your imagination becomes real. You just don't realize it. I think the best analogy that I have is picture a child laying in bed trying to go to sleep. And because hypnosis is just relaxation. once you relax deep enough, your subconscious mind, the mind that controls you, just becomes more susceptible to the power of suggestion. Okay? An example would be a kid lying in bed trying to go to sleep. So he's relaxing. The more he relaxes, the closer he is to going to sleep. Now, as he's laying there, becoming more and more relaxed, across the room, he sees clothing over a chair. So as he's looking at the clothing over the chair, as he's relaxing, subconscious mind says, that looks like the boogeyman. No, it's just clothing over a chair. Just clothing over a chair. Relaxing more. No, it really looks like the boogeyman. Eventually, that kid is hiding under his sheets from what he knows is clothing over a chair. But at a relaxed enough state, imagination got the better.
And insecurities, do you think, plays in this? And
All
how
of it.
some people...
All of it.
So if they're in control, does that kind of play out in how some people are a little bit more... You see the personality. Some people on stage, like you had a couple of contestants or volunteers yesterday that kind of...
We're hesitant.
Well, hesitant, but then you had the two women that were far more elaborate. Like they were more exaggerated, and it looked like they were kind of the entertainment part.
Yeah.
So is their level of participation or reaction something that's controlled? Like, do they have control over that, or is it a little bit more genuine to an honest reaction they would normally have?
Nobody really knows their own limit of what they'll do. That's the truth of it. They say you can't be hypnotized to do anything that you really wouldn't want to do, but that's gray. That's a very gray area, because the truth is nobody knows what they really will or will not do. You go to any guy and say, okay, hypothetical situation, you're at a bank with your wife and kids and robbers come in and they point a gun at your wife and kids. What are you going to do? Every guy's
Until you're in that moment, 100%.
I'm going to stand and defend my kids. But the truth is, 100% in their heart, that's what they would want to do.
Yep.
But if you're actually in that moment, you have no idea what you would do.
Man, that is so true. I've been in situations at work where we do drills. And I think this is probably why first responders and even the military are drills are so important, is because the reaction in the moment takes over any kind of thought. And that's the way you can control proper behavior or allow people to react proper until they've experienced that. And then, there's like learning the skill of comedy or hypnotist once you've done it. And I've been in a couple situations where you talk about how, okay, this is briefing area A and 2, we're doing the head count, what we're supposed to do. Then something happens and poof, there you are trying to do a head count because Buddy's at home. He ran down the... And that just all went out the window until you do, and that's why drills are so important, because once you do a drill and you go through that routine and you ingrain that routine and you give them that comfortable feeling of this is what I do and this is how I go about doing it, people react proper and they trust that I'll react proper and I trust they're going to react proper.
Here's the thing about drilling something in, though. Back in the mid-'80s, I was running the entertainment for West Edmonton Mall. And they had this staff thing where they got this group package out in Barhead to go skydiving. And everybody was like, let's do it. Let's do it. Right? And it was more so peer pressure because now, okay, what are you checking? Oh, okay, I'll do it kind of thing. So we got and if you got enough signed on, you got a free barbecue and a keg of beer. And
okay, sold. We're in.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, when we did this thing in Barhead, I always thought that when it's your first jump, you're tandem, you're strapped on to a professional.
Yeah.
Piggybacking
for
down.
sure.
No.
Really?
No. We were doing it ourselves, individual, hanging off the wing of the plane, letting go, and
way you go.
Hope that chute opens, man. So we spent 6 hours doing drills. They had us with a parachute pack on our back, and they had a little thing rigged up that was like what the plane would be like.
Yeah.
And they had us stand in formation, and they had a drill a jump master, and he'd say, okay, so this is your count. When you let go of the plane, you arc your body like this because your chute's in the middle of your back and it'll come right up, okay? So you got to spread eagle and arc your back kind of thing. And when you jump out, it's arc 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, check canopy.
Oh.
Right? And so it takes 6 seconds for your chute to completely come out. Okay? So he would drill us. Arc 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, check canopy. You see a bumbling mess up there. What do you do?
Yeah.
All these things. Oh, okay. Punch right, punch left, which was, release that chute and pull out your reserve chute kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Punch right, punch left. Punch right, punch left. Punch right, punch left. And you would do all these things and drill,
Just
and drill,
ingrain
and drill,
it in
and
your
drill
head.
for 4 hours straight. That drill. Arc 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, you see this. Arc 1,000, you see this. Arc that you can't do this. All the things that could possibly go wrong, you're drilled in, right? So once you look up and you see a square shape, you have these steering togglers. They're Velcroed to your line, and you're supposed to unvelcro them and pull them down to your hip to make your chute kind of go like this.
Okay.
Because when your chute opens, it gets an air pocket inside there, pocket of air inside there, and you got to release that pocket of air.
Okay.
Right, so those toggles, when you pull down, it'll pull down the bottom of your chute, the back of your chute, and release that air pocket. Otherwise, you go down a lot faster, and a chance your chute could just go with. Right.
Oh.
So
you're energizing a chute without it actually shocking it. You're allowing it to deploy proper.
now, 6 hours of that drill, 4 hours just full on drill. Right. They get us into this plane. There's no seats in the plane other than the cockpit, the pilot seat. Other than that, you're kneeling on the floor of this plane.
Okay.
No seat belts, nothing. You're given what's called a pilot chute. It's about a 10-inch circle of parachute, a little mini parachute.
Okay.
And it's all wrapped up, and you hold that. The guy says, if you see anyone's pilot chute on the floor, jump on it, grab it. Because if the wind catches that, it'll gut the plane.
Ooh.
So not only...
What do you mean gut the plane?
The strength that
deploys?
10 inches has, it'll pull everything out with it. That pilot chute is your ripcord. That's what's pulling your chute out. So you're not even going, parachute out. No. When you hand that to your jump master, you step out of the plane and you literally dangle off the wing, off this bar on the wing. You dangle. And then you look at him, and when you say you're ready,
He lets that little 10-inch piece out.
he just tosses it into the wind. And then when he tosses it, you let go. And you hope that 10 inches catches the wind.
Holy crap.
And that's what pulls your chute out.
Holy man.
So now,
That gives it a whole different level of
when we learned that
perspective.
that's how our chutes are opening, we get up to however high it was, 30,000 feet, and they open this side hatch of the plane. So now you're looking out to sky, like in this big square. No seats, no nothing to even grab onto.
Yeah.
Thing. You're just like, shit. And they stall the plane. The plane would stall, and they glide. And the next person comes out, hangs off the wing. Bye-bye. Okay?
Cool.
Then the plane would circle around to get back to the next run. So when the plane circles, planes go like this.
Yeah.
So you look, and out this big square window, now you're seeing the ground out that window. You're like,
Holding on.
like, what the hell? We're saying prayers. We're doing everything up in this plane. We're terrified. I thought it was going to be tandem, that some professional, I'd be piggybacking them and they would be doing all the work. But no, I got this 10 inches of my life in my hand. And I remember when it was my turn, I hung out on that wing. I looked out, I'm like, alrighty.
Yeah, here we go.
Whew, and I let go. And instead of arcing like that, I got that falling cramp in my stomach, and I curled instead of
Going out eagle.
right. And 4 hours of drill,
Right out the window.
arc 1,000 to and it was a 6-second fuck that I said. And then when my chute opened, like I'm falling, I'm seeing plane, sky, ground, plane, sky, ground. And when it finally opened, I'm like, okay, square canopy. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I reach up and I'm like, why can't I get my togglers to come down? And I look up and my lines
Oh no.
twisted up to the chute. Oh, this isn't good. Oh no. Okay.
Right punch, left punch.
So I'm ready to get rid of that chute and pull out a new chute. And I'm like, wait.
What?
I just twirled. I spun my body around and they untwisted. Got my toggers off, pulled them down, and all was good. But up until that moment, 4 hours of drill was nothing.
Isn't it weird how your brain, your body wants to survive, but in extreme situation, its survival is a little bit more hindering than anything.
Yeah.
You got to organize the brain to be able to react proper. And the drill is weird that you got to do drills to overcome natural instinct, which is just to freak right out. Wow.
But on the hypnosis side of things, this brings up a thing I saw. Because I've had people that are like, oh, don't worry about getting hypnotized. You won't do anything that you're really uncomfortable with. If you're really uncomfortable with it, you won't do it. And that is true. Like last night in the show when that woman had her cell phone. I'm like, hey, who's at home? Who are you going to call? And she said, nope.
No, she refused.
I am not making
So there
any
was a
phone calls.
little bit of a control there.
Right? She knew.
Who's at home
Right?
now? Anybody? Who? Parents are home?
Yes.
Oh, even better. Are they still awake? No. Are the children still awake? This will be really fun. Who do you know in town right now that's not here but is awake? What? Okay, you can sit down.
Right? She knew. Right? And she came and talked to me after the show and she said, I didn't mean to, I hope I didn't kill anything in the show by doing that, but it was just my kids at home. And I didn't want people out there to know my kids are home alone kind of thing. There's no way I was going to let that happen. So I just kiboshed that whole
You did.
suggestion.
Yeah, you walked away.
Right.
That was good. And people picked up on that. There was a level of respect.
Yep.
And that was important because I think once you did that, that signaled, okay, you're right. Like there was
I
that.
walked off to the side and I made a bit of comedy out of it or whatnot. But
Well, yeah, it didn't look awkward or anything, but
Right.
the reality, like what happened real time was, okay, there was that line there and you did not cross it. And to kind of further that a little bit is that at the very beginning, you made sure people understood that though. Like this was a clean show. It wasn't to try and
I'll
degrade
go
a
to
lot
that.
of people.
There's a line you don't cross and I'll walk up to that line. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's better for audience to go, oh, that could have happened to you, as compared to, oh, that did happen to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I used to do a thing where I told people their body was all made of rubber. You had rubber body parts kind of thing. And I'd go to one guy and I'd grab his nose and go and pull it out and they'd be like, oh my God, kind of thing, right? And then snap it back and ouch, right? And then I'd go to one guy and I'd take his cheek and I'd go to a lady and take the palm of her hand and tie them together and let go and up and slap the guy because the elastic went together, right? And then I said, okay, well, if that works, well, then I reach down and I make like I grab a guy's crotch and I go up to a woman by her mouth and go and tie him together. Here we're gonna go. And all you see is the guy going, and the woman going, oh no, and then just let go and they're both going wide awake. You know, and that's where the audience is going, oh no, oh no. Okay, cool. Because they would feel if it actually went down to the point where
The line was
face
crossed.
ended
Yeah.
up in his crotch kind of thing. That's the line crossed, you know?
Where's that difference between that story, like lady last night with, you know, calling her kids at home, and she's like, no, that's not happening. And then where people are doing a lot of things that they never would have done out of character, or even crossing the line for themselves. Like how can you get away with one and not the other?
This is the point I'm getting to. As I said, it's a gray area. People don't know what they will or will not do. You know, it's one thing for me to say, you're going to phone home. No, I don't need everybody here to know that my kids are alone. Okay. As compared to, am I going to end up with my face in that guy's crotch?
Yeah. Or even worse, like some people will definitely be doing things that are
way out of their character. Or way
out of
their
character,
comfort zone.
and that's that fear that someone will get up there and they'll do something they're going to have regret over.
I saw an instructional video years ago, and they were showing a demonstration on how gray of an area it is in the belief that you can't be hypnotized, do anything you wouldn't want to do. And they went into a small town in Utah, and Utah being a very high Mormon population, very religious type state. And they put an ad in the local paper of this town saying they were conducting a social experiment, a social study. And they were looking for volunteers to show up on this specific day at this warehouse. And they were looking for people that were highly moralistic, pacifistic, nonviolent people. And 60 some odd people responded to this ad and showed up at this warehouse. And through one-on-one verbal interviews, they narrowed it down to this one woman. She was a 40-something-year-old housewife, okay? But out of 60 some odd people, she was the most nonviolent, pacifistic, highly moralistic person. They sat her down, they put her under, and they put a glass of, I'm going to sneeze here for a second here, but
It's okay. I can cut that sneeze out. Give her. Do you want a Kleenex or something?
oh, no. It's not that. It's just a dust kind of thing. But so they put this glass down in front of her, and in the glass, it was a really low concentrate of acid, and they put a penny in it. So if it got on your skin, it wouldn't burn you, but it would cause irritation.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing, right? And they said on the count of 3, when you wake up, in front of you is a glass of water. And there's a penny in the glass of water. And when you see the penny, you're going to take your finger and your thumb, and you're going to simply take the penny out of the glass of water. 1, 2, 3. She looked, she saw it, took it out.
No reaction to
No reaction.
The light irritation.
It was water, as far as she knew. And so they're asking her, how do you feel? Everything's fine? Yeah. That's weird, because that's not water that you put your hand into. That's acid. They didn't say low concentrate or anything like that. They just said acid. Then she started going, huh. Oh.
The feeling started
Normally
to
it would
settle.
just be like an itch or, an irritation.
Yeah.
But because her mind started saying, this really hurts. Ow. And so they got a glass of vinegar, and they stuck her finger and thumb in the glass of vinegar, diluted it. Then they put her under again, and they replaced the glass of acid with an identical glass of water. They got a guy to sit down beside her and had him dressed in all the negative norms, like facial hair, dark hair, pinstripe suit type things, right?
Just intimidating
And
look.
said, on the count of 3, when you wake up, sitting next to you is a person who is the epitome of evil. He's responsible for all of the atrocities that ever happened on the planet. 1, 2, 3. Splash. Picked up the glass and splashed the guy in the face. This person out of 60 people was the most non-violent, pacifistic, splashed a complete stranger in the face with what she thought was acid, all based on hearsay.
Yeah. Defense reaction.
Yeah. So you just
That's
never
interesting.
know what a reaction could be. And people do react different. And it changes. And it's had me learn. It was a learning curve for me in certain suggestions as well, too, where I'd have to reword how I'm doing something because, okay, I didn't realize that was a safety concern kind of thing. I remember doing a thing where my sick mind, I would tell people I was a magician, and I would produce cute bunnies and give them all a cute bunny kind of thing. And then you just love that bunny. You fall in love with that bunny. And your bunny's really smart. And if you want to see how smart your bunny is to be in a magic show, they have to learn the tricks too. Give your bunny a name, tell your bunny its name, and then go to the front of the stage and set your bunny down, point at it, say its name, and tell it to stay. And then go sit down and watch. Your bunny's going to stay. So they all do this. And, you know, Bugs, stay. And they go sit down and like, oh, look, your bunny's staying. Tell it, good bunny. Oh, good bunny. Toss it a treat. Oh, there you go. And then I'd say, okay. And I'd walk by and I'd pick up someone's bunny. Is this your bunny? Yeah, awesome. Break its neck, pound its head on a post or something. And suddenly this one guy, I did it, he was out of his chair and he had me by the throat.
Oh, he came at you.
He came at me and he was legit choking me. Like no faking anything. He wasn't holding back. He was choking me. I barely got wide awake out. It was on me. So I learned after that, okay, your bums are all crazy glued to your chairs.
Ah,
Your
you
chairs
put
are
that in as a
bolted to
safety
the
precaution.
floor.
Oh, I heard that. Your feet are glued to the floor.
Yeah.
Last night.
I want you to make sure that you have your feet flat on the floor.
So that's for, so this is a multi-level question, but I think they all kind of work off each other. First, how and where do you learn how to hypnotize? And do you have a better awareness to just subliminal messaging through commercials or kind of, you know, that kind of media? And does that come from, and did you have to learn it from, I guess, Cold War? Like, I mean, the image I have of hypnotic advancement and learning and the application of it is with people that can be have an impression regardless of whether they're aware of it or even have control. And it comes from, I guess, a military kind of experiment, more or less, when it comes to try and, you know, the
Mind
CIA
manipulation
and yeah, you know, all of that kind of
thing.
stuff. So how do you, and I kind of multi-level question that because I think they play off each other a little bit, and where the apprehension or concern has when people think of being hypnotized, it's like, okay, how willing, like how much control do you have, and where does this all kind of go? Is there going to be something in my head now where I'm a little bit more susceptible to certain things? I mean, PTSD is something that kind of almost goes off of that too. There's something, and you know, trauma from youth and whatever. There's something in your head, and you never really want to let that kind of go, right? That control of where now you're a little bit more susceptible, and people think that there's a bit of a sinister application when it comes to that, just because of the origins of it all and the possible manipulation that kind of comes with that, you know, subliminal messaging with commercials and whatnot. So to start out with that, like, where did you learn this, and how did you go about kind of getting into this world?
Well, when I was in high school in grade 12, I was in a Psych 30 class, and we had a hypnotherapist come in as a guest speaker. And a section of the course was based on human mind and your conscious and subconscious and such like that. And he did the stiff body. He took a classmate of mine, this girl, she was like 6'3", and he put her across two desks, stiff as a board. And I was just blown away. I was like, no way. What? This is amazing. And I just want to know how to do it. I wasn't even thinking of theatrics or anything like that. I just thought this was something cool. I'd like to know how to do this. Like, this is just cool. So after the class, I talked to him, and he told me about this place called the Gilles Boyne Institute out of Los Angeles. And this was back in 1984. So there's no social media. There wasn't, no Googling anything.
Yeah.
Right? This is like the old book order stuff where I write them and say I'm interested in hypnosis, and then they mail me back a sheet with all the book order forms and stuff like that. So you can select quitting smoking hypnosis, stay, and all these type of things. And they have, and the Gilles Boyne, it was a Dr. Gilles Boyne. He's passed away now, but this Gilles Boyne Institute was like the world headquarters for anything to do with hypnosis. And they had every piece of literature that you would need to read to learn. So they sent me this list, and I just picked out the books that I thought would work and put my check in the envelope and sent it in. They shipped me my books and just read the books.
So you're self-taught.
Yeah.
All of it's self-taught.
Yeah, there's no licensing required to practice hypnosis because it's not a proven science kind of thing.
Well, you said that Edmonton earlier on. You said Edmonton was like the mecca and the concentration of people who were getting into hypnosis. It was 40 people. Like
for
the number counted
for stage hypnosis.
So
but
that is a small community of people. Like, you're dealing with so many levels. Like psychology, you're dealing with you're tapping into a world that's pretty crazy.
I've had people come up to me, like friends or just people that have seen the show after the show, and just like, do you do personal sessions? Do you do private sessions? I would like to quit smoking. I'd like to lose weight, or all these type of things. And I used to do that, but I don't really focus on those anymore. So, but I've had people that that are coming to me with I got like PTSD or all these psychological or type things that are happening. And I'm not licensed. I'm a self-taught comedian. Mm-hmm. I'm a comedian. I do comedy hypnosis, and the stuff I do on stage is harmless. You know?
But you're tapping into a world that is. So the other thing that was a takeaway from that 2011 show we're talking about, other than the fact that I went, oh, this is for real, because of how I seen some people I knew reacting. But you talked about that bodyboard thing.
Yep.
I think you did that exact demonstration on the stage, and it was this little girl. Now, I shouldn't say little girl. She was a small person. She was a grown adult. But, I mean, she couldn't have been more than, like, 120 pounds. Like, and you had the two chairs, and you kind of went through the process of getting her to an end result of where she was supporting her own body weight with her head on one chair and her heels on the other. Now, if I tried to do that myself, that's impossible. I cannot do that.
Yeah, you can.
I know that's what you proved. And then you had another person up on stage sit on her hips. And she not only suspended herself, but she was able to suspend the weight of that guy that was probably her body weight and more. And I was like, wow, like, there is no faking that. Like, that's unbelievable. Yeah. On like the mind over matter. So that was the takeaway I seen, even though you're not licensed or anything like that, but the takeaway of how powerful that can end up being, and like how strong the mind is, especially when it comes to that saying exactly, mind over matter. Unreal. Like that must have, how has that impacted you? You must have now in that whole process been like, wow, okay, humans are capable of some
little
amazing
moment
things.
in Psych 30, that moment of seeing my 6'3" friend across two desks, and me going, wow,
unreal.
And I've spent the last 25 years making a career out of that moment in that classroom.
It's fascinating, isn't it? What the human body can do, and how powerful the mind is.
Yeah. Now here's the thing too. When people have come up to me and talked to me about, can you do private sessions? it's one thing for like weight loss or quitting smoking. These are harmless things. But when you start getting into, I got a bad thing that happened to me in my past, and I'd like to get rid of that memory out of my head. I don't want that in my head anymore. So I can, I may not be licensed, but I'm not going to touch anything like that. That's something you need to find a licensed hypnotherapist to deal with. You need someone that's going to not just help that, but also be able to work with you on any things that happen after as a result. Like regression, having someone go back and to deal with memories in their past. Our body has natural defense mechanisms. You break an arm, your body puts you in shock, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And same with traumatic events. If you experienced a traumatic event in your life, your body will probably give you what's called a mental block. Just take that memory out of your head. You don't even remember it anymore. It's gone. So we have what's kind of like a junk drawer in your mind. And that's where this stuff gets placed into. You can't handle that memory right now, so we're just going to put that in here for now.
Absolutely.
Shut that drawer.
I know people that are very close, like very, very close people that have had that where there's a mental block, a memory, they've, until there's been an experience and a little bit's come out. And it's good that we touch on it a little bit, because to be able to open that up and go into hypnosis
dangerous.
and let that out it could be damaging. And then the whole process of accessing that, you got to make sure it's done proper.
Say something innocent, like a guy comes up to me and says, okay, listen, I was out with the guys drinking last night, and when I woke up this morning, my wedding ring was not on my finger. My wife will kill me. Can you help me just retrace my steps last night so I know where my wedding ring is?
Yeah.
Right? Innocent. Okay? I set that guy down, put him under. Let's retrace your steps. Now, to retrace his steps of something he can't remember, I'm opening that junk drawer.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got blocked memories in there, you don't know they're blocked. They don't exist.
You don't know what you're walking into.
You have it's a Pandora's box. So I can open that drawer, and that guy will go, right, last night when I was washing my hands, I took my ring off and put it on the counter in the sink and washed my hands. I forgot it's on the counter in the sink. Oh, look, Uncle Frank made me give him a blowjob.
Yeah.
When I was 6.
It's not in chronicle order. It's just
You
in
don't know
that.
what's going to come out of that drawer when you open it.
Wow.
When you open it, you see what is in there, right? So when you bring out a traumatic memory, you also bring out the emotions that come with the traumatic memory, and then you bring out any psychological problems that come as a result of those emotions. So if you're dealing with regression on any level, whether it's where did I put the car keys, or when me and my brother were kids, my dad touched us, and now we're older and we have kids. I'm charging my dad, or I'm charging my uncle, and he needs help, so I need to charge him. But my sister's mad at me now because she has no memory of this, and I knew it happened. I heard him go into her room. I heard it happen. Can you please make her remember that this happened so that we can charge this person, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's it deals with your morals. It
does.
Everything.
You're
right?
hitting on
Ethics,
so much there, yeah.
Everything, right? But if you're going to get that done, just because someone knows how to do hypnosis doesn't mean that's the person to go to. A licensed hypnotherapist, licensed because with that license they did the training, the proper training, and if they're a therapist, they've got a piece of paper with a letter behind their name that says, if I pull this memory out, I will walk you through those emotions, and I will help you deal with any psychological problems that come as a result of those emotions from that memory. You're in good hands.
How do you know that, though? Like you might like that's so with your, I guess, outlook and understanding on a lot of things. Have you picked up on anything that most people like subliminal things of like, can you pick up on human traits or, actions or anything that maybe you didn't before because you have a better understanding?
Absolutely. And even before doing the hypnosis, doing stand-up used to teach that a lot too. Being able to walk out on stage and just scan a crowd and just looking at their body language, their facial expressions, and knowing, yeah, this joke will work. Nope. You can take this joke out. That's not going to work. This one's probably going to offend that person. This is, and so you kind of do learn certain body language, what the eyes are telling you. Like, I can walk out on, like, after 30 years as an entertainer, I can walk out onto any stage now, and if it's 20 people or if it's 500 people, and I can talk to my audience, and I can look them right in their eyes and make eye contact with them.
Yeah.
And I've just learned, instead of being afraid of, I don't want to look at anybody, I've learned to look at them and read what they're sending me, kind of thing.
That's interesting. I just broke eye contact with you because I got uncomfortable. Sitting here, I'm like, oh man.
Even last night at the start of the show, I told the jokes at the start of the show. Let me see what I'm playing with here tonight.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to tell some jokes, and I know the crude level of the jokes, but I knew, okay, this one, okay, that one got these kind of laughs in it. All right, now I know where you guys are going. And then at one point in the show, I made a comment about something. And it was after the beach when the person was rude and yelled at him.
Oh, yeah.
Cock block and then something. Yeah. And so I said, I made a comment out of that person going, can I smell your pussy? No, then maybe it's your feet, but something sure stinks. And right away you're ooh. All right, so that's where we draw it at. Okay, there.
He's just seen where the boundaries were.
Right, and the whole thing of bombing in comedy, where we challenge ourselves to bomb. I would always tell people when they're worried about failing on stage or failing in anything in life, if you're afraid to go do something because what if I fail? Yeah, but what if you succeed? Right? Don't be afraid to do something. Yeah. And comedy taught me, if you're a good comedian, you had to have bombed. You're not a good comedian until you've experienced bombing. You have to have that night where it's crickets.
It's terrifying, though. Laughing. That is terrifying. But that's the growth lives in the realm of uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's where you need to push all those boundaries. We talked about, even with myself getting into the podcasting, and then there's always that relation. I've mentioned this, on previous episodes, where I'm that guy where I'm like, I don't know how you do what you do, because that's an area of, I always got to check myself because I want to use the word weakness. It's an area of weakness, but at the end of the day, it's just an area of where you need to have a better understanding and develop a skill to feel comfortable. And I've been in front of crowds. For me, I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. I just know it's a thing. Like how some people are scared of heights, or have phobias of certain things, and they shy away from it. Well, that's a weakness. There's something going on. You have to have a better understanding, and you got to confront that. So bombing, in front of a whole audience is some people thrive on it, I guess, and I don't understand how that's possible, but it's exposing a weakness of vulnerability that people really shy away from, but that's where the most amount of growth is.
Once you experience or learn and teach yourself how to deal with an audience that's not finding you funny. The thing with comedy is, if you've got a time slot, so if you're an opening act and you're given 15, 20 minutes to do stand-up, you can't get off that stage until your 15 or 20 minutes is up.
You can't run.
You can't run. If you want to keep a career in doing stand-up, you're given 15, 20 minutes on that stage. Do not leave that stage, because everything's also on a time slot. your middle act needs to be up on stage by this time, and they only have X amount of material prepared, right? So if you leave early, well, now their 30-minute has become 40 minutes, and they might not have 40 minutes of material. They might have a 30-minute polished act. You leave early, shit, now I got to do an extra 10 minutes in my act. I'm not prepared for that. You are given 20 minutes. You got 20 minutes. And if you're bombing for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that 20 minutes probably feels like a day.
But the process of that, you learn from it. So if you're having a bad night and you're bombing, you know what? You're a comedy show. Even when you're sucking, you're a comedy show.
So how do you push your boundary? Like, you've been doing this for a long time. Like, I keep referencing your 2011 show, and you were already pretty good at that point. So you've been doing this, well, a whole lifetime. We kind of reviewed that in the bio at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. So how are you pushing your boundaries a little bit?
Can we take a break for a second? I have to pee.
You have to go pee?
I have to pee.
I'm not even going to cut this part out.
Okay.
No, go ahead, for sure. Let's do it.